All right. Are we rolling? We're rolling. Hey, everybody. Back. Welcome to the portal. I'm your host, Brandon Wester. And
And I'm your co-host, Archie Mathis.
so I'm really excited about today's topic. And this one's a big one. And a couple of people have been asking me, like, that listen to podcasts and stuff, and asked me why we haven't already gone over this or why this wasn't like one of the first things we would have gone over. But I had to wrap my head around this whole thing, especially since we had the UAP hearings. Um,
Well, it's
basically,
such
what
a
we're
broad.
doing.
It's such a broad topic.
Oh, I know.
It's
So
so
we're
vast.
going. Yeah, we're going over aliens, UAPs, UFOs. What's the difference between the two? Because I think that the reason for the basically rebranding of UFOs, they say it's because UFO has such a negative connotation. I don't
Yeah,
really think they came up with a whole new term just because of what people thought
yeah,
or a biased. I think that a UAP is a back engineered craft from our military industrial complex.
I agree.
And
I would agree 100%.
UFO is the OGs,
Yeah,
the original alien manned or unmanned uh, flying saucer type deal.
yeah,
Because so kind of just as far as the UAP UFO thing, um, there was the recent UFO hearings with Congress going over UAPs with Doctor or not Doctor, but General. Is it Frazier?
I believe it's Frazier, and then was that world-renowned. He's a doctor of physics. Um, is it Greer?
Yeah, Greer.
Yeah, I think he was there.
I honestly think Greer is some type of like
Plants.
plant, or he's there to be some type of like personality,
Hmm.
like kind of was it Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah,
He's kind of that of the UFO subject. Because the dude was a surgeon
yeah,
before, and then all of
yeah,
a sudden, like he was like, "Yeah, I was a surgeon," and then I got contacted um, by our Air Force to come back engineer or explain some type of back engineering of these crafts and stuff. And I'm like, we got surgeons at Vanderbilt. Why aren't they calling? I mean,
yeah,
what? It's like saying like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I was a project manager on a construction site, and the CIA approached me, and now I'm heading up the whole the nuclear program. I mean, who'd have thought?
Yeah, that's exactly what that's like. Absolutely.
I'm like, wait. You were a surgeon, and now you're back engineering
Yeah,
alien spacecraft,
yeah.
and nobody's like,
Well,
what?
supposedly, I thought he had some backgrounds in physics too, which still you can have a background in physics, and that doesn't necessarily make you an authority on UAPs or UFOs.
No, I think that his job is to hype up this whole meditation out in the fields with doing these. Basically, it's a séance.
Yeah, it's a
He's like, "Hey,
kumbaya experience.
we're gonna go have a séance and summon UAPs
Yeah,
to
yeah,
us." Like he's got his own app now. I'm like, what?
yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, they get so mad at me because I like to talk to them directly instead of going through the channels, blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, you must be special.
Yeah, yeah.
But um, so some interesting stuff that we learned out of the hearing.
Mhm.
Um, since 1947 and Roswell incident, that's when apparently our military or parts of the Air Force and the Navy, those are who they're not even really in charge of the whole program. And that's the thing. I don't know if you watch that documentary, The Program?
I've watched parts of it. Yes, I have
Oh, it's
watched parts
good.
of it. Yeah.
Um, it wasn't. I thought it was going to be really like propaganda-y and kind of like, hey,
Hmm.
here's the narrative kind of
Hmm.
thing that we want to go with, and here's what we want you to think. But it was really kind of like a laying it out there kind of deal.
Hmm.
But the program basically Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Boeing are the three uh, companies that our military industrial complex are. Those are the three main companies of our military. Now we have hundreds of different contractors for weapons
Hmm.
and stuff like that, but those are basically our favorites,
Hmm.
and they get everything they want and more. Now, the reason there's this is part of the reason why it's so kept in the dark. And because if if they disclose that it's these companies, you're going to have
Hmm.
other companies being like, "Whoa, whoa, wait, why are these guys getting it?"
Hmm.
Kind of thing. But that's who they want to have this technology. I guess because the leaders of those companies are a part of this whole thing also and are just as evil as they are, or I don't, or
Yeah.
just more willing to be complicit with whatever. But Lockheed Martin and some uh they have their own private air force.
Yes.
They have their own private military
Hmm.
contracted by like five or six different very big um not militia
Well, they're mercenaries. Is basically
mercenaries
they're
like
they're a mercenary
Blackwater,
militia. Yeah. Hmm.
like these Blackwater type deals, and they got numbers. They got a lot of numbers,
Hmm.
and if they're the ones holding the keys to these UAPs and stuff, and telling our Air Force when they're allowed to use them and when they're not, and blah 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 kind of thing, because that's what it is. Is they've got the aircrafts, they've got the
Hmm.
keys. You got our Air Force, like, oh, you can use our bases. We'll build an underground base for you right here. We'll do this for you. Can we have those
Yeah.
keys? Can we? Can we? Kind of thing. And they're just going, okay, hey, hey, hey,
Yeah.
do as you say, and we'll let you take it for a test drive, but kind of
Hmm.
thing. And the fact that because I was listening to Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, and Elon seemed very confident about, or is not confident, but very just like not a maybe, or he's like, nope, there's no
Very
evidence.
matter of fact. Very
Yeah, very
matter of
matter
fact.
of fact.
For
And
sure.
I don't know about him. I really don't.
Yeah.
He's either a he's he has two different types of like ways he could be. Is he could be going after everybody because he was left out of the club,
Hmm.
or he's like the best Trojan horse ever and he's playing a long game. Or they
Yeah.
have him they're installing him now to build trust and basically help consolidate the right, and that way for them to switch parties, because right now they're all on the evil's controlling the left,
Hmm.
but they don't care. They play both sides.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, they don't have a foot in the door to go over to the right, though, to get back control over there right now because of Trump. So
Yeah.
they have to have they have to have somebody that can get their foot in the door. However, our base does not trust anybody like them
Yeah.
other than Trump.
Yeah.
So I could see them being like, "Hey, Elon, this is what you're going to be doing until we say otherwise. You're going to be against the
Hmm.
system. You're going to be against us. All this stuff. Blah blah blah. Buy X. All this stuff. And then, but when we have everybody where we want them, we're going to pick up the phone and you're going to answer, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That could be something. And it would be down the road after everybody's like, oh yeah, Trump, or we've got the House, the Senate, and all this stuff. No need to pay attention to anything anymore. I'm going to go do me. They've got it. Once that happens, that's when it starts spiraling out of control until we all wake up and be like, whoa, what just happened here?
Yeah.
Because it just happened with the left. Now they're going to do the same thing with the right. After they've destroyed the left, then they're going to destroy the right, and that's how they destroy us.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
But getting
Yeah.
back to this topic, or he was saying that he was like, yeah, if they had this type of technology, why would they be using it? Why would we still be using rockets? I mean, we'd be going to Mars and all this stuff, kind of thing. And there's a lot of reasons why. I was like, there's a lot of reasons why they wouldn't be using it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would.
But
If they had the technology, do you really think they would care about getting a government contract to go for NASA? No.
well, I think NASA, in my opinion, NASA has just been a cover up agency. It's they've been able to hide money, trillions and trillions of dollars within the NASA government agency, but also there's technologies that have come out of these so-called alien crashes. One of the scientists that supposedly had worked at Area 51 said that fiber optics is an alien technology that
Oh yeah.
we engineered. That's something that we got from alien technology was fiber optic, which is sending lights over span of glass cable is basically what that is
Oh yeah.
fiber optics.
That was my next point because apparently, like, where's that piece of paper I just had? Here it is. So these technologies, um, they first of all, the anti gravity technologies is an absolute game changer. They don't want anybody else. They don't want to compete. Why would
Mm-hmm.
you want to compete if you already have the whole game? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's like already have it, all this stuff. Why would I give it out to people and then make it myself in competition with others?
Mm-hmm.
And then, because I think that could be something why Elon has just jumped completely anti-establishment is he was left out of the club. He didn't get the technology, or he's not allowed to know any of it because he's a smart dude. Like he knows that
Well,
this stuff, that
yeah.
anti-gravity technology is possible, and it probably eats him alive knowing that Lockheed Martin has these crafts, and he doesn't have the technology. So
Yeah.
he's having to do it old school. I mean, he's doing it the best old school way that's ever been done.
But
However,
don't put it past him. I guarantee you, he understands the technology, and he's trying to back engineer it as we speak. There's no
yeah, but
doubt in my mind.
there's got to be something that they're allowed to have that he's not, and he can't get his hands on. Some
Well,
type
but
of material.
you got guys in their garages with mercury and magnets that are coming up with these anti gravity machines. They're constructing them in their garages. Now they're a smaller base technology system, but it's the same theory. It's the same technology. It's using magnetic fields to propel an object
Yeah,
is what it is. And so knowing who Elon is and his brilliance, I guarantee you that in some undisclosed warehouse underground on wherever he's has his X facility or SpaceX facilities, they're working on this technology. I guarantee it. I
Yeah,
mean, he would be a
and
fool
that's what I
not
said.
to.
He's either the Trojan horse, he's either with them pretending not to be, and or he's legitimately not with them and bitter about it.
Yeah. But either way, he's working on this technology. There's not a
Yeah,
doubt in my mind. He's working on it.
because
Whether
the more I
he's in their
thought
good
about
graces or not.
yeah. Well, the more I thought about it is if you had even if you had the ship, the only way you could really effectively pilot something like that is through thought.
Yeah,
Because it's
and
going so fast. You're
your reflexes can't.
the speed of thought is the only thing that could keep up with something that's going that fast.
Mm. And you have to have a chamber within the spacecraft or the craft itself that's exudes some type of pressure where you could not. In other words, it's anti-gravity where you can't feel the g forces on your body
Right.
because some of the renowned physicists who have seen these objects in the sky that just do 0 point turns in milliseconds, they said that the human body could not withstand that type of g-force. I mean, it would kill you.
Right. Well, and that's what the as a it basically puts you in a vacuum
Correct.
where you're not traveling through space, you're bending space around you. So
Correct.
you don't experience any G forces or anything like that. It's
Mhm.
like when you're in a train, you're inside a train going, let's say
Mhm.
100 miles an hour. You're sitting there reading a book, you don't feel like you're going 100 miles an hour because
Yeah.
you're in enclosed space. You don't feel the wind, you don't feel any of that stuff. You just feel
Mhm.
like you're sitting in your living room. It's kind of the same concept.
And really and truly, like you say, the craft itself is not really moving. It's space and time moving around the craft.
Right. Exactly. Basically, it's propelling itself just like how if you have a magnet and same poles, now you can move the magnet and the other magnet will move also.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't think I explained that very well, but
Well,
I
it's
think
it's
I think
pulling
you know.
itself. It's propelling itself through time and space by time and space moving around it. So it's staying stationary, but everything else is moving around it.
Right
It's a
now,
hard concept to grasp. Very hard
and
concept.
if you look into um, a term that I found researching all this stuff called graphitic propulsion
Hmm.
technologies.
Yeah.
Now that's just one type of technology. And then you have something called electrogravitas. So that's what you were just talking about, the electromagnet.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
electrogravitas is that type of technology because there's apparently different ways of building these crafts to do the same thing. It's just how you're bending the atmosphere around you, whether it's
And
doing it through anti gravity or through microwaves and electromagnetism.
well, the underground rail system that has been speculated to be under the United States and other countries, this rail system that you can go anywhere in the world within the matter of minutes is based off the magnetic. It's basically called a magnetic rail, and
Yeah,
it's through magnetic electro impulse that this rail system can go anywhere from Mach 1 to Mach 2, possibly even Mach 3. And, that's been speculated for many years now that
hmm
a lot of these underground bases are hubs for this underground rail system.
Oh yeah, the rail system. Um, I saw somebody had a map basically of the rail system. Whether it's accurate, I don't know, but it looked like a giant spider web all over the United States.
Yeah. And it broadens out. So now it not only is it in the United States, I mean, it goes to other countries under the
Oh yeah,
ocean. This incredible amount of of rail system that you can reach a destination with truly within the matter of so-called minutes. You could go from here to New York in 30 minutes or less because
Yeah.
of this rail system.
Yeah. And so those type of technologies, I mean, it's it's not complicated when you break it down into theory, but I mean, I can imagine it gets super complicated trying to build something like that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But we know it's
Right.
possible because we've seen the technology of those big machines that form those tunnels.
Oh yeah, how they don't dig anymore. They
It's
just
melting
melt
rock.
it. Yeah, they melt all the rock away, which they
Yeah.
got that from different beings.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to call them anymore. Aliens, extraterrestrials, or just things that have lived down there for so long.
Yeah.
And we're going to get in that in a minute. But back to the UFO thing. Um, we talked about Lockheed Martin. There's one more point. Oh yeah, so the different technologies that are attached to these things, like things like 0 point energy.
Mm-hmm.
0 point energy, it would if 0 point energy was commercialized and being able to be purchased by the average person, everybody would be completely self-sustainable forever and ever and ever,
Mm-hmm.
and have as much power as they could possibly handle with
And
0 point.
and it's coming out now that 0 point energy does exist. I mean,
Oh, it's
there's
existed for a
whistleblowers.
long time.
Yeah, whistleblowers are coming out and saying this exists, but the big industry does not want this because it'll decimate big industry, big oil,
It would
power.
eliminate the oil industry, the coal industry. It would completely those would be dinosaurs in zero point 0.0 seconds.
Yeah.
Not to mention like all those people with those are powerful, powerful, powerful people. Think
Yeah.
think of the pharmaceutical industry, how powerful they
Mm-hmm.
are. And basically any other industry in the entire world, how powerful they are. All those it was like that show, um, Landman. All the most powerful companies and industries in the world, they're all reliant on oil.
That's right.
So by default, that makes oil and energy the most powerful industry in the world. Now, do they
Mm-hmm.
make the most money? No, but the better those other things do, the better they do. And
Mm-hmm.
they're all dependent on that.
Yeah.
And they're gonna ride that train until the wheels fall off.
Yeah. And what gets me, Brandon, is you take a box, a 1 foot by 1 foot box, okay, and when we talk about a 0 point energy generator,
Mm-hmm.
and it can power up to 6 to 10 houses. Just that one box can fully power 6 to 10 houses. So if you can imagine building something on a broader scale, I mean, you're talking about. I mean, who
Or if you
cares
just
about?
build something this big, power your own house forever.
Correct, correct.
Like that would be such a change to our entire way of life.
And it's clean. It's totally
It's
clean.
clean
Clean energy.
because what it does is for people that don't know, 0 point energy extracts energy out of basically thin air.
Mm.
That's what it does. And that type of energy it's 100 times more powerful than uh, internal combustion, electricity, everything you can think of combined. Now, I don't know a whole lot about nuclear, but I mean, I can imagine it being better than that too, because there's endless. unless there's no like Earth anymore,
Mhm.
then it would stop working. But everything's made of energy, and it basically extracts that, converts it to electricity or whatever type of energy you want, whether it's propelling your
Well,
car or a
from,
spaceship.
from what I understand, 0 point energy is is a Tesla theory that they used. You know, people who have created this energy used what Tesla was studying, what his prototypes of pulling ether out of the atmosphere
Mm-hmm.
and converting it into energy. And Tesla knew this. That's why J.P. Morgan, I believe, had Tesla killed, because Tesla wanted to have free energy. And
Yeah, you wanted to
J.P.
have
Morgan,
wireless electricity.
yeah, and J.P. Morgan told me, if I can't put a meter on it, I don't want it, because I want to be able to, extract money from it. So,
Yeah,
and that's exactly why Tesla was murdered, I believe, because
yeah,
he was pushing back on J.P. Morgan. So
and that's the thing.
that
What if these types of technologies? It's honestly the people that don't want it are kind of dumb, because if you take things like 0 point energy and you're able to create, the average person would be able to create whatever they wanted
well, that's
with
exactly
it.
why they don't want it, because if
But
if
they'd be able to do it too. So really, the
yeah,
only thing that you're not really after the dollar, you're just after the power.
well, that's part of it, for
You just
sure,
want to be
sure,
able to be above everybody else.
sure. But at the same time, if it does away with big oil, um, big coal, big solar, but all these other types of energy production, then there's no money, and the almighty dollar. Let's just be honest, makes the world go around. So the one who has the biggest toys and the biggest bank accounts in their minds is the most powerful, powerful pawns of the game, so to speak. So
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. That's why it's kind of dumb, because it's like the old like theory of, hey, if everything in the world was free, would anybody steal?
yeah,
No,
no,
because things aren't worth anything anymore.
hmm
What makes things worth something is the scarcity of it.
hmm
If I mean, is if like think of water. People pour a half water bottle out and then just throw the thing away. Like,
hmm
it'd be the same thing with there wouldn't be a reason to have money.
yeah.
There we would live in a completely different world where all you did would be just live life, create something new or whatever. You had endless amounts of resources.
And in saying that, and how this all ties into the the alien agenda, or UAP disclosure, is the technology that we know exist, and the powers that be it the deep state or the high upper elites of the world, want this technology for themselves. Because if you have and can control this technology, then you have the power to control everyone.
Right, and that's the thing they want. They would rather not have a society at all than a society where they're not on top, or
Correct.
a society that they're on the same level as the regular person.
Yeah.
They don't they only want a society where they have authority over people.
hmm
And if you take the value of resources away, and resources are so abundant that they're not valuable anymore and anybody can access them, or anybody can create whatever they wanted to create, and what's there to rule over?
Yeah.
The only way to rule over people is you have something that they want or need, and you get to control who gets it and how much of it.
Yeah.
It's just that it's a power move. That's all it is. Because when people have more money than they know what to do with, money's no longer valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's then their currency is power. They could care less about cars, houses, material things anymore. They don't care. It does. All it buys them is more things. They want the power.
Mm-hmm.
Then their
Right.
currency is power.
Yeah.
But uh, that's why this stuff. That's why this disclosure. I the type of disclosure that everybody has in mind, like somebody coming out on some type of podium outside the White House or a Capitol building saying, "Guys, aliens are real," running or like, and then whatever they have to say afterwards, they're evil, good, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. That's not going to happen.
No, I think we'll see the crafts, these, mile to 2 mile wide crafts just come up over the horizon. I think that'll be disclosure.
Well, because the point of this disclosure is they are going to disclose little by little, but they want to still be in control of the whole narrative.
Mhm. Well,
If you
they want
disclose
to see.
everything, then people will start thinking or drawing their own conclusions about
Well, they
things.
won't. That's why you're seeing so many movies and shows, and now, L.A. Marzulli even says there's soft disclosure. You've got CNN and Fox, um, talking about and interviewing people that um, have seen UAPs, or they've witnessed some strange thing in the sky. I mean, you've even got Tucker Carlson on his podcast talking about it and how,
Oh yeah,
what he believes that these entities are. So it's getting into the people's persona, the persona of people, and so it will be desensitized. So when disclosure does happen, people won't be that shocked. I mean, you got even the Pope saying that if there are little green men that come to Earth, then you know we should try to, uh, you know, um,
evangelize to them and stuff.
evangelize them. So it's
Well,
it's
that's
really.
what I don't think will ever happen because they're going to let us know little by little. Then they're going to say, okay, here's a little piece, and this is what that is, and um, yeah, so you just keep that, but that's what it is. It's nothing else.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they'll affirm that with other types of programming and stuff like that. That way, the narrative, there's no questions about, oh, where do they come from, or this type of like, are these actually aliens from another planet, or did they just come out of the ground, kind of thing. They don't want people asking questions about this information because they'll lose complete control of it in matters of seconds.
mhm.
So they're going to feed us little by little, and we're never going to get the full picture. Because if we got the full picture, then we'd know that all that was BS.
Yeah,
But they will feed us exactly what they want us to know, exactly when they want us to know it,
yeah,
and they will do it in a way that's not questionable
yeah,
or that's very obvious. Like, hey, this is. They'll do it if they want us to believe they're from outer space. They will factor it out that way to where you just draw that conclusion on your own because it's so obvious, type of thing.
yeah.
That's how disclosure will happen. And the now I don't know what their plan is or how they're going to roll it out, but they're going to do it in a way where we're not going to get the whole memo because
And
but
if some of it
we'll
gonna.
get exactly what. as much as they want us to have. And that's when
And
they do these hearings, these people aren't out there. It's hilarious. They call them whistleblowers when they're sitting on the stand going, "Yeah, I'm not allowed to say that. You're a
yeah,
whistleblower."
you're not.
Yeah, they won't let me talk about that. They've literally like, you're a person that they said, "Hey, we're ready for this piece to come out, and you're gonna pair it with this information, so they will draw this conclusion from it.
Mhm.
So you're gonna pair uh, these UAPs with um, a new star system that NASA recently found, and it matches up with this type of whatever. So you draw that conclusion. Oh, these are aliens from that star system.
Mhm. And how much of what we see in the skies is actually real? How much of it is Project Bluebeam, where it's actually a hologram and
Yeah,
it's
I, th-
not
I
real?
think because I think that kind of the cat got out of the bag way too soon with that, and now Project Bluebeam is a hashtag. They've abandoned that, or
See,
they
I
have
don't believe,
rebranded,
I don't agree. I think that's full. That's still full go. I think
or
because the
they're going
tech
to
not
use
that
that as a double psyop
yeah,
because
because the technology is so advanced now that for holograms, it's I understand what you're saying. I think that a lot of people um, that are like us who are in the mindset that we are in, you know, we deal in conspiracy theories and the strange and unknown, unexplained. So for people like us, we see that, hey, you know, that could be a psyop that they use, but for the everyday person, they've never really heard about Project Bluebeam. They don't understand what
I don't
Project
know
Bluebeam is.
because when the drones were happening, when the first drones started happening,
Mm-hmm.
Project Bluebeam was the fourth most Googled thing that week,
Okay, maybe so.
and I think I think they do this stuff to kind of see what people are aware of.
What how far they can go in pushing
Because
what which agenda.
everybody was screaming, "Oh, that's Project Bluebeam! It's Bluebeam! It's happening! We're in the middle of Bluebeam!" kind of thing. And then they'll be like, "Well, if they know our plan, we're obviously not going to do that,
Yeah,
but we'll make you think we're doing something while we're
yeah,
doing something else
yeah.
because we're going to trust that you're going to react that way." And that's how they
Hmm.
do it. So because that's genius. Like, hey, I'm going to do something to see your reaction, and if you react how I think you're going to react, then I'm going to redo my plan. It's just like football. Like, hey, if you
Well,
do this, if you line up this way, and that means you're going to pass. Well, I'm going to line up this way and actually do a run.
well, I think it's, and I'm not trying to be get political here, but I think it's a lot like COVID. I believe COVID was a test of a pandemic to see how how people would react. Was COVID real? Yeah, I'm not saying COVID wasn't real, um, but I believe it was a planned pandemic, and it was to see how um, the American people and I guess people of the world would react to this, um, you
A
know,
world crisis. How
a world
compliant
crisis.
will people stay during a world crisis,
Yeah,
like an epidemic or a pan or whatever it's called? That's what the case study was. COVID was ultimately done for. I mean, the side effect of it was a net positive for them. It was a depopulation tool, obviously.
yes, hmm,
However, the overall uh, test for COVID was I want to see how compliant the world will be under a world crisis.
and
Will
yeah,
they abandon all faith in institutions and go rogue by themselves, or well, if we say, hey, stay in your house for 3 months, will these people actually stay in their house?
Yeah, correct.
You jump up and down and bark like a dog for us. And then everybody starts doing it. Then they got a little carried away with like everything and been like, hide under your desk and dress like a woman kind of thing. That'll get rid of COVID. They started like going a little too far, and then people are like, whoa, okay, what are we doing now?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what they wanted to know, and they got their information. But
So
and it's got to be something real that people that would really be like fearful.
and it's not over yet because the side effects of the vaccine, I don't believe that we've even begun to scratch the surface of what's going to happen in the future.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of micro experiments going on
100%.
because don't ever let a crisis go. What was it? Don't let a good crisis go to waste.
Correct. Yeah.
So they were like, okay, your group wants to test your new virus. Okay, y'all want to see how compliant everybody will be. Okay, this company wants to grow their stocks, so we're going to shut down all their competition, kind of thing. Because there was over like 50 something millionaires go to billionaires, and
It was one of the largest transfers of wealth we've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
100%. And
so there's a lot of reasons why they did it. However, I think with the compliance issue, they got a little carried away with getting us to do most ridiculous stuff, and then now everybody's looking back and going like, why in the world were we standing 6 feet away from each other? Why were we putting socks around our face thinking that that's going to protect us from a virus?
Yeah.
Obviously, y'all don't know what you're doing. So they kind of exposed themselves of what they were trying to do by making us do the most ridiculous stuff ever. If they kind of left it at just staying, even like I think they could have gotten away with staying at your house.
Yeah.
But the mask thing, making people wear like stupid stuff around their face, and they think that that's going to protect them from a virus.
I mean,
and
you couldn't even, in parts of California, you couldn't even go walk on the beach with your dog, without being arrested.
Yeah, it's like, what is the air toxic? It's the air going to
Exactly.
me kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
correct.
everybody wanted to throw their 2 cents in, and then they basically exposed exactly what they're trying to do. And that's when everybody lost faith in institutions. So they're going to have to go back to the drawing board if they want to do another world crisis, because nobody's going to listen to what they tell us to do.
But
They're going to have to do it by force. If they really want to push that button, they'll have to do it by force, and they'll get a massive rebellion, and all hell will break loose.
But let's shift and bring this full circle now, since we've talked about all this conspiracy stuff. And it's like President Reagan said, the one thing that would bring the whole world together is an alien invasion, an alien factor. So is that what's going on now? Is the soft disclosure, and then soon, full disclosure that we will see an alien threat? And now, they're going to put mandates in effect to so-called protect us from these beings, or these beings maybe are supposed malevolent and want to help mankind. We just don't know. But that's
it's either they are here to help and show us how we can all be one world people kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just like they are, and look how advanced they are. We're gonna adopt this program kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, we'll call it the New World Order. And
yeah, for sure.
Or it's going to be, it's all of us versus them. And I know we're in charge, but we're on y'all's team too. kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Well, you may be too young, Brandon, because I'm a little bit older than you. But in the early '80s, there was a series that came on that was V, and
v.
it was it was called V, and it was about these aliens that had come to
Or was it
Earth.
V for Vendetta?
No, it was called V, and so these supposed aliens that looked like people had come to Earth, and they were going to help mankind, but in in reality, they were lizard people that
Oh,
had these.
I was watching scenes from that
Yeah,
today
it was called
because
V. It was.
I was kind of just going through YouTube, kind of doing different types of searches and see what pops up. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was I forgot what. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It was
Yeah,
that was wild
yeah, that was back in the early '80s. So
because it was
um,
like this exact storyline of what we're talking about right now.
exactly the same
I mean, like
storyline.
the same. I thought it was a skit because of
No, it was actually it was a series that I don't know.
yeah.
It started probably running around '84 into '86, somewhere around in there. I don't know how long, but I mean it like came on Friday nights, I think, and like I was glued to the TV, because it was so cool because it
Yeah,
was
I thought it was a skit kind of talking about what's going on now because the acting was a little like kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, it was,
So I was
yeah, the
like,
acting
are
was
they
not
making
that
a
great.
skit of this? But no, yeah, that's so weird you said that because I literally saw that today.
Yeah.
Uh, where were we? What were we talking about? My brain's going 1,000 miles an hour right
Oh,
now
I know.
because
Well, I was trying to bring it all the way back around to your questions to get it kind
oh,
of back
my
on
question.
topic
Yeah,
of
you
of
got
the
my question.
USB.
I got so many questions.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so we went over
This,
UAP stuff and kind of thoughts, theories on that. Um, so let's get to these questions. So obviously, the biggest question is aliens. What
mhm,
are they? Where they come from? And what are they doing here?
mhm.
Those are the three questions everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
Obviously, a what we think of an alien in that something had to make these crafts and fly
Hmm.
them here.
Yeah.
So you can. I'm using the term alien as like an entity or being. I don't know.
Hmm.
A being mean more like a physical thing. Entity meaning more of a spiritual thing.
Hmm.
Because you can
Yeah.
go either one of those routes, I think. Now, here's a
Hmm.
theory that I literally was just kind of just thinking about this stuff. Kind of okay, if they are from a
Hmm.
different planet, let's see what's war game that scenario. How does that fit into a biblical view? Uh, I had I have a theory. Now these are just my theories based off what I know happened in the Bible and the and how it could how it could be a possibility of them being from now. I don't I don't even know if you should call them. I mean, fallen angels obviously is what we've been referring to,
Hmm.
but we use that term. We don't mean like a black in like a black entity being with black wings and just an evil thing. A fallen
No.
angel. The term angel isn't a thing. It's a job title. I
Hmm.
don't know if we really like explain that. So an angel is just a messenger of God.
Hmm.
It
That's
it
correct.
it, it doesn't have a specific form or look or I mean there's in the angelic hierarchy there's multiple different things that are different beings. They all fall in different areas of the hierarchy.
Hmm.
Um, and we'll get into that in just a second. But
Well, but when we talk about the Genesis 6 conspiracy, you know, the Bible does refer to them as the fallen ones, or also in the book of Enoch, they're referred to as the Watchers.
the Watchers,
So
yeah.
So God sent them to watch over the earth, and you know, just to watch and relay information to God.
Yeah.
Not to say that God couldn't see either, but they were to tend and watch over earth. And then the Bible tells us in Genesis 6 that they found the daughters of men appealing and decided to fornicate with and take wives of the daughters of men, and they, ultimately their offspring was the Nephilim. And we've talked about this before when we've talked about the giants. So now what we have is we have the Nephilim, which are part human and part divine.
Divine
So when
angel
exactly,
or
so when God destroyed the earth with the flood, now you have all these disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. Now, L.A. Marzulli, who is a born again Christian, he is a he studies this stuff. He looks at it from a geological standpoint. Going to different metholithic sites, which he considers fallen angel technology, because we do know that in ancient times there was a technology that was on the earth that was far vast than even we have today. When you look at the building of the pyramids, when you look at different sites around the world, some of these sites that are metholithic are built to such a degree that even our engineers today could not replicate it with what we have. So we know it was a vast type of technology and a sophisticated technology, which I agree with L.A. Marzulli. It would be an angelic, fallen angel technology. So in saying that, so now you have these disembodied spirits. Now his thinking is that these gray entities, what we would consider gray aliens, and you have different ranges. You have the gray aliens that tend to be 6 to 7 feet and even taller, and then you have a mid range where they're not necessarily gray, they're 6 feet and below, 6 to 4 feet, and they're more of a greenish color. But he believes that these beings are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, and that these gray aliens, the way their appearance, their look, is basically just a meat suit for that spirit to obtain and
mhm.
to live in.
So it
And
can
so,
exist in this dimension.
exactly, so they can, uh, live out in this or have interaction within in this dimension. Now, Jacques Vallée, who is one of the world-renowned ufologists, he believed the same thing. He did not believe that, and this guy is an atheist. He or was an atheist. He did not believe in um, necessarily what the Bible says, but after studying the alien abduction phenomenon, he came to the same conclusion that L.A. Marzulli did. He believed that these things didn't come from Mars or a distant star system, some kind of distant solar system. He believed that they were interdimensional beings that were moving in and out of dimension. Um, and he's one of the most world renowned ufologists that came to the same conclusion of L.A. Marzulli, who doesn't proclaim to be anybody special. He just says, "Hey, I'm an archaeologist who is a Christian, and I've just started to study this stuff." So you have two men that come from very different ends of the spectrum, but they came to the same conclusion.
Right. And I don't think that that's, if you break it down on just principle alone, instead of, and it makes perfect sense. Like, okay, take space. Space is technically classified as a 4D plane, a four
Mm-hmm.
dimension. That's
Mm-hmm.
a different dimension. In order
Yeah,
for us to be in space, we have to put on a space suit.
that's right.
Otherwise, we would die.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that being wants to exist in our dimension, it has to put on a suit or it will die.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
And
thing.
if you
It's
want to
just a
get
different
even
type of. It's a biological suit rather than a space suit.
correct, and if you want to get even deeper, the Bible says that, the Bible, and we've talked about this before. Um, the Bible talks about the earth not being a sphere. It's a flat plane with a firmament. Well, if that's the case, if there is a firmament, then that there has to be some way for those beings to go in and out of the firmament, which we would classify as a portal. They some
And
way they're
that would
able to.
have to be something that you'd have to have something that's either you'd have to have some type of like vehicle or something that's
Correct.
transdimensional
Yeah.
in order to do that. Now, here's a theory that I came up with that I just started thinking of and kind of started asking. I look at this stuff and I ask myself questions: what makes sense? What doesn't make sense? And the flood.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Nephilim before the flood. Then we have Nephilim after the flood.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot of different people who have a lot of different theories on how that happened because it clearly says everything was destroyed on planet Earth was destroyed in that flood, and the ones it even says the ones that found refuge on high top on land or anything like that died,
They
and
starved to death.
if those people did, he even let the Leviathan loose, the ones that
Mm-hmm.
weren't drowning fast enough. He let them loose to devour the
Mm-hmm.
Nephilim in the water. Then the ones that found land, he sent Gabriel and Michael, or no, Gabriel and to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So there was nothing like I used to
There was
think.
only
Well, maybe
only 8 people left alive, and that was Noah and his sons and their wives. That was
right,
it.
and it doesn't make sense that even if they found somewhere underground, I mean that would just fill up with water anyway. Or since the whole world was engulfed in water, there would be nothing to breathe. There would be no
Mm-hmm.
food. I mean, you would die down there. You can't just exist in a cave in the middle of the ocean and think everything's hunky dory.
I
So
mean,
I don't think that no pun intended, but that theory doesn't really hold water. Uh, Now here's a theory. Uh, they're building Tower of Babel,
mm-hmm.
which is believed to be a Stargate to somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think it was trying a Stargate to heaven because they wanted to force their way back into heaven since they were cast out.
Mm-hmm.
Now it talks about in the book of Enoch. So those are I'm laying this out in variables. Like, okay, there's this variable, there's this variable. You have Nephilim before the flood and after the flood, and it's very clear that nothing on Earth survived. Before all this, they had the Tower of Babel, and they're trying to build a Stargate. Then the last variable is in the Book of Enoch. It talks about, I think it was the one of the Nephilim chiefs, Og, had a dream before the flood that there was going to be a flood and they'd all be destroyed. And so he went to Enoch, and that's when he talked to Enoch about it, and it was like, "Hey, go ask God if this is going to happen," kind of thing, and how would we stop this from happening, kind of thing. Well, God tells Enoch that they have to just completely repent from their ways, which none of them do. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in a frantic kind of Hail Mary, what if we had a group of Nephilim who used or got knowledge from their fathers? Because this is first generation we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
the fallen angels, who's been there since the beginning of time. What if they collabed together, built a Stargate to a different planet or a different? I mean, it could be a different dimension, or it could be what make. Here's why I say planet, because let's say they do build this thing, they get off planet Earth, they avoid the flood,
Mm-hmm.
they're out there in Galaxy 11 or whatever, and they made it to a planet that's inhabitable for them. Now what? They have two options. They either can start their own civilization there, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Let's say they grab a few human wives, they got their dads with them, and they found some like weird grub or something to eat and stuff. They start building a civilization. 2,000 years ago, or 2,000 years later, what did that civilization even look like? If this is all the
Mm-hmm.
technology they already had starting out on day one, given 2,000 years, what do you think that thing looks like now? What if it took them 2,000 years to build, to increase their knowledge and technology to build a craft to get back to Earth? Because now
Yeah.
they're on a planet, they don't have a craft. What if that Stargate's only one way? They don't have another tower over there. So what if it takes them? What if that's why we're seeing a lot more of this stuff now? Just a theory
Well.
that I thought about. It does it. I don't see. I mean, it's a stretch, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be. I think it should be considered very much a possibility, just like any of the other theories that people talk about, and not discrediting anybody else's theory.
Yeah.
I
No.
haven't heard this. I haven't heard one that. I mean, if you have those three things, obviously they would be like, "Hey guys, how do we get off this planet? The whole planet's going to flood.
Mm-hmm.
We either have to. We're either going to die or we have to get off this thing. We can't go up in the air because Gabriel's killing them over there, and they're just trying to
Well.
swim,
Well.
and
We
they're
we
getting.
know we know that there was the first incursion of the
Yeah,
Nephilim. We
and the
know that
second,
there was a second and possibly a third
yeah,
incursion.
and that's the thing that this what separates this theory, and I'm just saying out loud. The second incursion is just kind of there's no like text or anything that supports it like Genesis 6 supports the first one,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And if everything was destroyed, there'd be nobody to write it down anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not knocking that or anything. There's perfectly good reason why there wouldn't be a text or anything like it. However, that theory we were just kind of assuming, okay, there's more that fell, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm an angel and let's say my job is to make sure that just I'm not even involved with humans, I'm not even involved with other angels. My job is I'm just supposed to be out here in the universe to make sure no asteroids hit planet Earth, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever God wants me to do. Maybe I'm just supposed to just stare at Jupiter all day long. I don't know. But if I'm hearing all this is happening, the last thing I'm going to do is do exactly what those angels did. You kind of think, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Try to
It's kind of
find.
like,
Yeah. You would want to try to find a way off planet. I could understand that. I
yeah.
could see that.
But like, that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know about a second incursion of fallen angels because like everybody saw what happened to like Azazel and stuff. They're still in a dungeon.
Mm-hmm. Well, there had to be some type of incursion. Now, whether that was a second incursion, whether that was with the Nephilim, because, you know, when I say second incursion, I think that second incursion might have happened with the offspring, because with each iteration, their power and their size, kept getting smaller. So, you
Yeah.
know, but we do know that when the Israelites came out of Egypt and became, they were coming into the promised land, all of the tribes around the promised land. The Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, all these ites
Mm-hmm.
all had Nephilian blood. That's why God had the Israelites when they were going into the promised land after the 40 years. That's why God said, destroy everything. Do not leave any woman, man, child, or animal alive, because it was all that they had, Nephilian blood, which was, that was not supposed to happen. That was an abomination. So a
Right.
lot of people that don't understand the biblical pretense and why God did what he did, they say, well, God was just uh, a genocidal maniac and killed all these people. There was a reason why
Well,
that took place.
they weren't people,
They weren't
or
people.
they were corrupted people. Like they're
They were
said,
very much corrupt.
like talking like if you go through the line of Cain, like Cain's first sons and daughter were not good
That's
people.
why they call them Canaanites, is because they had Nephilium blood. They did Nephilium rituals. So these people, the Amorites, Hittites, Canaanites, all these people practiced sacrificing of children.
Mm-hmm.
And they also practice satanic sex magic. So it was just they were just evil, horrible people, and that's
Well, they
why God.
defile themselves so because
Correct.
there's a Tony Merkel was talking about it. Through trauma, when people go through trauma, it actually has a physical it actually has a physical effect on the human soul. It's called a
Yes.
soul fracture.
Hmm.
And if you fracture it enough, it kill it, like your soul is no longer repairable.
That's why you have the these children that were put in these projects where what was it, Project Montauk, where they were
Montauk
trying.
Project, yeah.
Yeah, basically what they were doing through trauma, breaking and splitting a person's personality to the extent that they had a total separate personality that they could control. And so they have
Yeah.
you know a an assassin. They could build an assassin that through some type of trigger, this person could live their life, and then all of a sudden they
As
could
a
have a
completely normal person.
as a
And
yeah.
it's just like it's the entire storyline behind the Marvel Winter Soldier
Yes,
thing.
correct.
Is a brainwashing type of it's very real. Like
Yeah,
people that go through trauma, like any therapist will tell you, your brain naturally will, in order to just handle it, will dissociate.
yeah, and
And what it'll do, your brain will do, is basically it dissociates by making whatever's happening to you happen to someone else. Now it
they
is
can
you, but your brain is like, okay, you're uh
it
Brandon 2.0.
compartmentalize it.
You compartmentalize, like that stuff happens to Thomas, not Brandon, kind
Yeah,
of thing.
exactly. Yeah,
And
and
it then it becomes embedded until the personality actually becomes a reality. That
yeah,
made up personality that your brain came up with now manifests into a physical personality.
and turn to what you said before. Tony Merkel has actually interviewed several of people who have been in, um, some of these satanic cults and that were assassins, and they've escaped that life, but they were basically two different people. And through a trigger system from a handler, they could be triggered to become an assassin for whatever reason. So it's a very real thing. This thing does happen. So in saying all of that, when we talk about the alien agenda or UAPs, in my, what I believe that aliens are, I believe that aliens are not some little green men from Mars. I believe that they are a benevolent being that's interdimensional, whether that be a fallen angel or whether that be um, a disembodied spirit of a Nephilim. I don't believe that they're just little green men coming from a different star system. I believe they're interdimensional beings, and I believe that they do mean us harm. Now, saying that, I think that some things that we see in the sky could be angelic. They could be angels sent to protect us in certain instances. Now, I don't think
that's
everything
where,
is malevolent.
yeah. So I think that's a good. So this is my other thing I was thinking about. So there's angels. God had different angels to do different types of jobs for the entire universe. And so my thought is back to if there is civilizations on other planets, that would be so the Stargate after the flood, that could be a possibility for a civilization starting on another planet. The only other way would be if God created another civilization. Well, what if he did? What if he created another civilization of not necessarily humans like us, but something, and not necessarily like a angel, but something just kind of new. And
I mean, it's not in the.
and
I mean, it's not out of
I
the
don't
realm
even
of
I don't think
possibility.
that I think a lot of especially Christians may be like, no, 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 because we're God's favorite, which we are. I'm not saying that we're not, because
You're his
I think that
favorite,
I
Brandon.
think
You're
that
his
people are
favorite.
like want to just go ahead and kind of shoo that idea away, because if there's another thing that God created, it may that may diminish our specialty kind of thing,
Yeah.
which I
Well,
don't think is true. If you look at it like, okay, let's say I have a farm, I have tons of animals that I have. I have cows, I have chickens, I have everything. But my two dogs, they're going to sleep in my bed with me and go everywhere with me. I
yeah.
love my cows and my chickens. They have their purpose there, and you could even argue a cow is probably the most beneficial to a farm because it provides fertilizer, provides great burgers, uh, a source of revenue. People would
Yeah.
argue, why not the cow is your favorite? No, because my dog's my dog and I love my dog, kind
Yeah.
of thing. I think that's also why we were targeted by fallen angels in
No
the garden,
jealousy
because
for
we're
that.
their favorite. And maybe
Yeah.
this other civilization's cool. Maybe they didn't fall. And I don't know what falling would even look like for that. Whatever God instructed them to do, they just did.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't targeted, maybe because they're over there and us, and we're in the garden with God, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And that would mean that civilization is still on Team God. They didn't fall.
Yeah. And well, and
Maybe
I mean,
maybe they don't, and maybe that if they're not a fallen society, they're they're created by God, doing exactly what God created them to do on this little area. Because why? Here's my main question would be: if it's just about Earth and just about us right here, why is the universe so big?
but is it really that
Why would
big?
there be even the reason? Like, I get why there'd be the reason for our sun. Why would there
Mm-hmm.
be reason for any other suns or any other moons or any other planets, really? Because there wouldn't
Well,
be really a purpose for it if there's not anything that I mean, maybe you just got bored and wanted to make some other cool stuff, and I was like, no, I like Earth. Let's just stick with this kind of thing. But but what makes sense would be if I was building, if and I'm creating something. I don't necessarily. It's like if you have a plate full of nice stuff that you want to eat. You have pizza and you have your burgers, and then you have your ice cream. It's all really good stuff, but you don't want them to mix together because that'd be messy. So you put them on separate plates.
Yeah.
You don't ever want them to touch. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna make something so big that they can't come over here. They can't talk to each other
Mm-hmm.
because that's just going to cause a big mess, kind of thing. They're
Yeah.
going to be like,
But
"What?" Right
but
now,
is the universe really as big as we think it is? Because here's the deal. I know that Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about the universe and telescopes that have looked into the universe. Well, they can look into the universe, but do we really know that when we look into other supposed star systems, is that what we're looking at? Because we truly
well,
don't know. We've never been there.
no, I get that, but there is something there.
There
Whether it's
is, yeah.
and
And is it as far as what we think? Is it as far as millions of light years away? We truly don't know
yeah,
because
we
you
don't
know.
know. Well, I mean, we could. Okay, let's say we're tracking a comet,
Mhm.
kind of thing, and if you're tracking a comet across the sky, and you know that it's coming between us and the moon.
Mhm.
Okay, then you have some type of parameter there. And let's say it starts here and then it goes all the way out here, kind of thing. Then you have a triangle. You can I do think the universe is big.
Mhm.
I mean, we have stuff like black holes that you can see from a telescope. Otherwise, these are just, I mean, I I think there are other stars and stuff. I think there's other galaxies and other solar. I mean, it
And I'm
really.
not saying I'm just trying to play devil's advocate
Oh yeah,
advocate and
my
say,
biggest reason for it would be because God creates.
mhm. Oh,
That's what He
absolutely.
does. He creates, and
And
why would He just like He's constantly creating?
well, and that true. And has there been different, people before us? Has there, that he's built, another planet like Earth? And has there been people like us before? And will there be people like us after? Even and that's not saying that, um, once whatever happens with us happens, and now I'm going to move on to something else. I believe what the Bible says. I believe that, there are going to be end times and that this earth is going to pass away and God is going to bring the new Jerusalem and a new earth. He's going to build the new Jerusalem and the new earth. I believe all of that.
Yeah,
Um, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that once that happens and takes place and we're in heaven and he's still going to be God, he's always going to be God,
and He's
but
still going to be creating.
he's just, yeah, exactly. Is he going to create another and make a whole new creation? And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be in his image, but are they going to be human? Who knows? We don't know. And
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 that's
some
the thing.
people
Even if He did make something else in His image, I that still doesn't mean that He loves us or cares
any
about us
less.
any less.
Correct. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
because I heard somebody from on a podcast talking about that. Oh, there's no other humans out there because God created us, and
Mhm.
we're the only humans. And it says God created humans. He created the first humans were Adam and Eve. It
Mhm.
does not say that we're the only things. And I think that would be kind of the last thing God likes is like arrogance.
Mhm.
And I feel like that'd be very arrogant to say that now God tells us that we are special. We will one day
Mm-hmm.
even judge the angels.
Mm-hmm.
And he built the Garden of Eden for us to be with him.
Exactly. We
And,
we used to be more spiritual than human, but
yeah,
because of the fall of humanity, we became human. Now
and the
that does.
fact that and the fact that we were a target
Mm-hmm.
for the side of
It's that,
darkness
yeah.
because
Or,
we were God's favorite.
mm-hmm.
And we still are. And that's the thing that I think that a lot of Christians and uh, think that it's like, oh, if it's not an angel, it's a demon. If it's not that, it's either me or God. There's a four things that have consciousness and exist in
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. And I just think, especially now with so many weird stuff happening, it all has to fit together somehow. The puzzle all has to form a picture at the end.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the more we're not going to know all this stuff, but I don't, and instead of people kind of like, since that's not necessarily what we've traditionally are led to believe, then it's evil. I think that we need, especially more than now, be practicing discernment.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And he said that's easy. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
everything that's supernatural is evil.
Yeah. Oh, of course not. Yeah.
I
No.
or anything that I think that we're a I mean, like even alchemy. It
Mm-hmm.
is I think it was obviously corrupted very much so, but
Mm-hmm.
its initial reason for being for God to create elements to react in ways like that wasn't evil.
Well, you look in pre-Victorian time, so we're talking about 15th to 17th centuries. Women that dealt in herbs, healing herbs, were considered witches,
Mm-hmm.
and they necessarily weren't witches. They
Well,
necessarily
that's
weren't bad
because
people.
it was considered like, oh, I don't know much about that. I can't find the verse for it. It's automatically from the devil kind of thing
Yeah,
instead of kind of like practicing discernment. And it's
correct.
easy. You are judged by your fruits.
Hmm. But the
If
thing
this
about it
thing
is,
heals you, that's obviously a good thing.
exactly, you're
Now, if you
healing
start
diseases.
worshiping that plant in your house, that's where it becomes not a good thing.
Yeah, that's a different. Yeah, that's different
It's
altogether.
no longer a magical plant that you need to pray to and for it to heal
Yeah,
you again.
yeah.
That's where things get that's where it goes from a good thing to a bad thing. And I
Mhm.
think people don't want to really do that, so they just chalk it up to either good or bad,
Yes,
just so they don't have to think about it.
yeah. And you know, I think when we're talking about this situation of knowing what UAPs are or UFOs are or aliens are, and we talk about this, then we have to put in perspective of there there are good entities and there are bad entities, and necessarily everything that's in the sky is not necessarily good, but it's necessarily not evil either. And like you said,
And
that's where discernment comes into play. Is
now,
this
you were talking about earlier the grays. I
yeah.
do think that those are evil. I think
Yes.
that anything that is trying to build a suit to get into our dimension, first of all, if it was meant to be here, God would have made it so.
Hmm.
So by trying to form a loophole
Hmm.
with like a basically like an avatar to get around that, because again, God gives everybody free will. Everything has free will. The
Hmm.
reason, I mean, there's a big question: why does evil even exist if God is good? Well,
Hmm.
the universe is balanced. Everything has to be balanced. Evil wouldn't exist without good, and good would not exist without evil.
But there'll be a day where evil will not exist. You understand? You know,
Yeah.
when we get
No,
to
I get
heaven,
that part.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking
evil.
about I'm talking about just like the function of the universe. Now we're in heaven. We're I mean that's our side kind of
Hmm.
thing. But that doesn't mean hell disappears.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Well, and you know, when you ask the question, or when people ask the question, you know, what is the alien agenda? You know, my answer to that is I believe that the true alien agenda is it's a human hybrid program. So I believe that these grays, they have to be malevolent because they're in many cases, in many documented cases, they're coming in the middle of the night, taking people from their bedrooms, taking them aboard a craft, performing all kinds of surgical procedures, sometimes impregnating females, and then coming back 9 months later to retrieve the the child that the woman has been impregnated with, and then taking that child to wherever, um, the other dimension. That's not a malevolent or a
No,
benevolent being.
that's
It's a
not
malevolent being.
at all. And that's why
Mm-mm.
I'm and because the alien agenda is the same agenda that the fallen angels had. To
Correct.
it's the story between good and evil over the history of forever has never changed.
It's a seed war.
It's the seed war. And it goes back to literally that basic good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
So why were we targeted in the garden? Because we were we were easy pickings. We're in the garden.
We were God's favorite.
The fallen angels. And when I say fallen angels, the fallen angels fell way before we came on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
This was way before we came on the scene. We don't know what happened for that to happen, but it was pre-man when angels fell. There was already fallen angels when Adam and Eve were created. And what happened? They saw that God loved us, so we were automatically enemy number one, and we're gonna we're the fallen angels said we're gonna make them sin. We're gonna disconnect them from God. Well, they worked.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely worked. Then what happened was Jesus came, and they didn't see that one coming.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're able to be forgiven
Mm-hmm.
just by asking for it.
Yeah.
And how do you battle that? So how do you keep us from God if we can just ask for forgiveness directly?
Correct.
Then you have to make us not human anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only other card you can play. And by generation, slowly, and that's why these hybrid. That's why they didn't want to create their own people and stuff like that. They wanted to basically recycle out humanity and bring in a hybrid type of being.
Well, what's the biggest thumb
And
to
then
the
we're
nose to
well, yeah,
God
and then
is
humans
to
are
take His own creation and defile it. You know
defile
that.
it where he can't that it can't be undone, and his favorite creation is damned to hell for all eternity.
Yeah, and so now again we come back to the question: if there is a human hybrid program, what is that program? I believe what that program is doing is so they're taking DNA from human beings and mixing it with the Nephilim DNA, and they're creating an army. I
They're
believe that's
creating an
exactly.
army. They're um, creating. I think that the Antichrist will be probably a hybrid type being,
Yeah, we know that. Yeah, we know that.
and so and I know that's and again we go from a biblical point of view because again, why else would a civilization travel all the way over here just to sit in a bunker of an underground military base, abducting people one by one and doing all this stuff? Why? That makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah,
And
now,
a lot of people are like, "Oh, they ran out of resources on their planet." Okay, cool. If the universe is forever expanding and all this stuff like they believe, I don't necessarily believe that, but if it's endless and you have a vehicle that can go anywhere you want to in the blink of an eye, and you have all the time in the world, why don't you just find a planet that's got why don't you find a planet of solid gold if that's your resource you need
mhm.
that nobody lives on? Because if there's endless amounts of planets out there and resources, why would you pick one where you have to like you have people already living on it that you have to like kind of work around? Go find the likelihood of there's a planet that's just solid gold floating out there is the same likelihood there's a planet with other life on there.
Yeah, so, and the thing about it is, so you again, I'm gonna talk about.
Because or I meant to sorry,
No.
because that's what the ancient alien theories. So
Yes.
the ancient alien theories is the Anunnaki came to our planet because they ran out of gold on their planet, and gold is a necessary resource for them to survive. So they came here where gold is a scarce, rare mineral, and we're going to spend all this time and resources and stuff dealing with the people that already live there just to mine out a scarce resource. So you're coming from your planet where it's a scarce resource and you're running out quick to another planet where you have to work around all these people that live there just to what get this scarce resource there's not a lot of it existing.
But and also with that is that the basically Neanderthal that was already living here, they supposedly took their DNA and mixed it with the Neanderthal DNA to come up with humans.
Right. So we think because the Neanderthals were apparently too dumb to mine the gold for the Anunnaki. So they had to make the Neanderthal more intelligent to be a more efficient slave for the Anunnaki. This is literally the ancient alien theory that lots of scientists and lots of uh,
UFO expert.
astrologists and archaeologists and all these people that went and got these really expensive degrees. They have all this money and grant money. This is the one that they came up with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, that seems crazy.
Yeah, very.
Because okay, because it was all about the gold. These Anunnaki needed the gold.
Yeah.
If they don't have the gold, they can't survive. And these Neanderthals are too dumb to get it for us because we're not going to get it ourselves. That's just get that thought out of it. So we need to do some genetic engineering. There's only this like the planet's this big. There's only this much gold, and instead of just us going to get it ourselves and go on to the next one to see if they have any, and no, we're going to stay here for thousands of years and create a race to mine this little bit of gold for us before we pack up shop and head on to the next planet.
And
that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it doesn't make sense because this is the my thought process about this is okay. If you were so sophisticated enough to come across the solar system to come to Earth to get
for
the mine
gold,
for
and
gold,
it's all about the gold.
It's all about the gold.
It wasn't
then how come you couldn't come up with some type of mining device that you wouldn't need humans to mine the gold? Because
they built the tools for them to operate and mine the gold. So they did everything except literally just like grabbing it. It's like they built a machine to pick it up off the ground. And I'm gonna hold my hand out like this and build an entire machine for thousands of years that's going to take that that thing right there. So I automatically lift it and set it in my hand instead of me just reaching down and grabbing it. I just shook the camera. But I mean, does that make now? I'm not saying that we're geniuses or anything.
Yeah.
However, I just don't see how our theories are any more like, well, okay, just take what maybe our theories are crazy. If you're not into the Bible or anything like that, maybe our theories are crazy to you, those people. And not saying those people bad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Now, that theory is just as crazy and doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you look at it from a biblical point of view, now if you're looking at it, even if it's just looking at it, trying, you don't necessarily have to believe it, but if you're going to look at it from that, you might as well assume that the baseline for everything is true. If you're going to look at it from a biblical point of view, okay, if we can assume God did all the stuff in the Bible, and that's true, and we assume what we're told over here is true, and we assume that this is true, does those squares line up? Yeah. Okay. If let's take the ancient alien theory. Okay, let's assume that there are Anunnaki and they need this gold. And let's assume that Neanderthals are just doing our thing over here, and they fly from wherever they are directly to our planet, and they say, "Wow, guys, we didn't strike gold, but there's a little bit here." Okay, let's not spend a lot of time here because that doesn't make sense. Let's keep moving because we need the gold. And here, gold is a rare mineral. Or no, it's precious metal. My bad.
Yeah.
A precious metal because it's rare. Not a lot of it. So, does it make sense, logical sense, to spend the amount of time? Maybe they can whip up a genetic altering thing real quick and start injecting it into these Neanderthal people. They don't magically morph into like rational beings right then. It takes generations and generations kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then once they actually have the comprehension of learning something, you have to spend the time to teach them it.
Yeah.
Just to get a precious metal that's rare to begin with, that doesn't make sense. So when I say that, like ours is that crazy, you can see where we got from point A to point B to point C in a rational thinking way. With that theory, I don't see where point A or even point B connect.
And you know, to really get a good grasp on this, I'm gonna put out a plug for like I said, I really enjoy and have learned a lot from L.A. Marzulli, and he has a good series called the Watcher series, and it takes you through from the very beginning of all these monolithic sites in our history. He talking about fallen angel technology, and he really breaks it down in this series. I think you can go to lamarzulli.com and for like $5 you can look at these his different movies. I think he's got over 30 films dealing on the subject. So I mean, he's just a man. He's a plethora of knowledge when it deals with this subject, and it makes sense because he follows the biblical narrative. That's what he follows, and his goal is to bring awareness and to bring truth, and through the awareness, leading people to Christ by the truth. Because to your point, Brandon, it just doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense that these sophisticated beings from across the solar system came here looking for gold. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. to me. Maybe to other people. But what does make sense is when you overlay the biblical narrative of a seed war, between the Satan and his minions and human beings. Basically, he's wanting to destroy human beings because the jealousy of being created and loved by God. That makes a whole heck of a lot more sense to me, because we can see it in real time. Not real time. Well, in some cases real time, but through history in the biblical narrative. And we can back it up through biblical sites. What are we starting to see now? We're starting to see that all these things that have been talked about in the Bible are now being archaeologically discovered and being made true.
Right.
That the Bible does, when it says these things, it's real. Because now these things, Noah's Ark has been found. The crossing of the Red Sea when the Israelites were coming out of Egypt has been found. Mount Sinai.
Are you talking about the chariots and stuff down?
Yes, yes.
Down there. Yeah, that's
at
pretty
the
wild.
Red Sea. And then Mount Sinai has been found. The village that Noah and his family started after they left the ark. The name of the village, in whatever the language it is, the actual name of that village means the village of Noah.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is pointing the Bible, the book of God's word, is true. Everything that we can find now, we see that this jail in Rome, it was underneath some type of building. They did excavation. They found a whole mosaic on this floor. It was an old church. And in the mosaic, it says Jesus is God. That's the first time, other than scripture, that we have documentation that Christians of that day and time are saying that Jesus is God.
Oh, yeah. And all I'm going to say is, and again, we didn't start a podcast stuff to so we started to talk about this stuff, and Archie's a pastor, and I'm a Christian, and I really think that a lot of you should really look at it. Like I looked at it because you want to make sure whatever it is that you believe in holds water against scrutiny. And if it's true, it'll hold water. If it's false, it'll fall apart. And like the atheist argument is, oh, if I can't see it, doesn't exist. Okay, well then gravity and air, it falls apart right there. There's not a man in the sky that dictates everything. Well, yeah, you're right, because God exists out of space and time, and so no, he's not up in there in the sky, kind of orchestrating everything like a puppeteer kind of thing. It was like it's a painting there. The painting analogy. The painter doesn't live inside the painting; he exists outside of the painting and creates the portrait. Correct. Or creates the picture, kind of thing. Because a lot of atheists will be like, "Oh, if God is all good, why is there evil?" Well, God gives everything free will, because otherwise he would be forcing people wouldn't have a choice other than to do exactly what he wants us to do. That's not why he didn't create us, because he wanted us to come to him on our own. He wanted the relationship to be authentic. If somebody is made to like you, that's not an authentic or real relationship. And so he gives everybody free will. Now, by doing that, if somebody wants to do something bad, he has to allow it, because it's their free will.
Mm-hmm.
Now he doesn't. I'm sure he doesn't like it, but
Mm-hmm.
God's a lot wiser than people are, obviously. And again, we're not made to live here on Earth forever,
Mm-mm.
kind of thing.
And
Our time on Earth is a drip in an ocean,
yeah,
kind of thing.
it truly is. And people have to understand God doesn't send people to hell. They send themselves there.
Yeah, and hell's not a place where all bad goes. Hell is what happens when there is no God.
Exactly, because
Take God out of
what
the equation. That's what happened.
what we understand is, and Michael Eisner talks about this too, is hell just an allegory and reference? Is there true fire and burning in hell? Or is hell the expression of total separation from God? Because as we live on this plane in human form, no matter if we're atheist or Hindu or Christian or whatever, God is still present.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody is in hell, they are totally separated from God.
Right.
We no matter what you are, if you're Christian or not or atheist, that God is still present. But is hell total separation from God? So total separation with God would mean there's no
That means
there
when you pray, He is not hearing you at all.
exactly there's nothing. There's no
And
love, there's no compassion, there's no mercy, there's no grace. It's total separation.
and even people who say they don't believe in God, you put them in a bad scenario and where it doesn't look good. It's almost like a reaction to pray.
Well, it's just like a buddy of mine that was in Afghanistan says everybody finds God really quick in a foxhole.
Mm-hmm.
When
And the
you're
thing
put
that
in,
the we've been around for a long time, humanity has, and it hasn't been until what, early 1900s maybe, when the first like thoughts of atheism and just the thought there wasn't a god or a deity
mm-hmm,
or anything.
mm-hmm,
Maybe it's not a deity you think, but everybody believed in something bigger than themselves.
yeah,
Even the Mayans and the Egyptians, you can
mm-hmm,
you can't say on one hand, oh, these people are super intelligent, they can make things that we can't even make today with modern technology. However, they're just so stupid in believing in these mythical like gods and figures that they put on the wall.
yeah,
You can't, those two things can't exist at the same time. And so, because this was, we're doing aliens and stuff like that, but this all ties together. And because I wanted to end it or kind of wrap it up on this because we're coming on almost 2 hours, and we're
yeah,
gonna keep going on. There's going to be part two of this because we haven't even touched like alien species and stuff like that. What people
yeah.
are talking about when it comes to like Palladians and Greys and all that stuff. We're going to get into that later, but this was something that really like kind of worried me a lot when I found this. So what was it, back in the mid 30s? The CIA did a type of, you could call it like a war game type scenario,
Mm-hmm.
that what would be the mass um, reaction if the government released a disclosure saying that there's life that exists on other planets and stuff like that. Um, the biggest change in society would be that volume of Christians would drop by 46%. So almost half of all Christians would completely turn away from their faith. Other than that, not really many of the other religions changed much. Maybe a few percentage drops. There's people looking up at the sky a lot more, but nothing else really changed as far as what. And I don't know how they came up with their scenario or how they did this experiment or thought process or whatever you want to call it. But the documents out there, they did sit down and discuss it, and they got 46% is a very specific number. It's not like plus or minus 50 kind of thing or 25. It's 46%. And that means that you take all the Christians in the world and subtract 46% of them. It would make that many people completely turn away from their faith just by saying that there's life on other planets. Not saying it's good, evil. They didn't say that. They said there's intelligent, sophisticated life on other planets. Now, what does that mean? Why would they do that? And that's because that I think that's because that we think that, okay, if there's life that exists outside of what we know, that means God had to create it, and that means that maybe God didn't create us, kind of thing, or these higher life forms may have created us because since they can get to our planet, they must know everything about everything. That doesn't even make sense either. But a lot of people will look at these like aliens, like they are these gods just because they created a cool craft. Like people who build cool race cars doesn't mean they know quantum physics. Like maybe they're just good at building vehicles. I don't know. But just by default, they came from the sky and they're from another planet. There's no more God. That really kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, what are we talking about, Christians? Like what are we doing? Kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really why I really wanted to like talk a lot about the theology and stuff and how that relates to because we know there's something going on.
Absolutely.
We don't know. I can't show you a document or proof or pull up a gray alien behind me to say, hey, this thing's real, or this reliable source has this reliable information and it's real. We don't know for sure. But assuming that the parameters are true, assuming that there are ships that we're clearly seeing, that's a thing. It has to come from somewhere. Okay, cool. It can either come from here, that's already here, another dimension, or another planet.
And what's with all these
come from doesn't really matter that much. The fact is, if it's a vehicle, it's got to have a driver. And obviously that driver is not from our reality and this planet because we would see it before. So who's driving and what's their story like? Now, I haven't ever heard of anybody claiming they got abducted by an alien and it was just the time of their life.
Yeah.
They just I want to do it again. Sign me up. No. What's the stereotype? The stereotype is they probe you. That's not fun. That's not nice.
Yeah.
And if they're not taking you out on their spaceship and for a joyride or making sure that you had a great experience with your time with them. In fact, a lot of the times people have to go through hypnosis because their memories have been blocked. So they don't want you to know that they were with you.
Yeah. And
it wasn't a good time. So that means that these things aren't the ones that are taking us and abducting people and working and allegedly working with our military industrial complex and having all the secrecy, and you have the Dulce Dome, the Intuit Basin, and Utah, all these secret military like units where they're doing all this genetic testing. That doesn't seem like it's really like pro human, let's be friends kind of thing. So they're not good.
Yeah.
That
And one thing that Jacques Vallée and L.A. Marzulli, even they're on different ends of the spectrum, different ends of the aisle. But one thing they did notice when they interviewed, you know, I guess hundreds of people dealing with abduction cases, is that people that were Christian that were being abducted, anytime during their abduction they called out the name of Jesus, their abduction immediately stopped.
mm-hmm.
Immediately.
Even you know what? I've heard so many stories. People who weren't even Christian.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're just they were told by like I was listening to other guy. He was talking about how he's getting abducted. Literally, he was like he is and that's the thing that's too like when people talk about being demonically attacked in the middle of the night, what's the first thing that happens? Sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis.
That's the first thing that happens when people claim when they're being attacked by a demon or a benevolent thing. If you don't want to call it a demon, just something that's not good and wishes you harm. Whether it's a UFO or an aliens or something else that's evil, sleep paralysis. They're pinning you to the thing and they're not letting you move. And people praying in their head is the only way they're able to be able to get control of like speaking, and they speak out loud in the name of Jesus, please help me. And that entity just it goes, it flees, it runs for the hills. Now, and these are people who aren't actually even Christian, and some of them. I mean, I would be going to church the next day, but some of them are like, yeah, I don't even go to church anymore now. Still, I thumbed through the Bible a couple of times, and then my favorite show came on, so I started doing that. But which I'm kind of like, you do you, man. But I mean, and I'm not knocking any other things, but I've never heard a story, and I listen to a lot of different podcasts coming from a lot of different point of views.
Yeah.
Because again, if you, I'm a Christian not because I'm just blindly a Christian and being told, and I was raised that way. But again, if what you believe is true, and you believe in something it's got to hold water, and that means it's got to hold up against scrutiny. And as Christians, we shouldn't be afraid of like people questioning things with us. It should give us an opportunity to explain things.
Correct. Yeah,
and
I would
that
agree.
46%, it's like, I mean, just the government telling you something is going to make you change your whole belief. Those people,
Yeah, the people that lie to you on a regular basis.
I mean, the government says that aliens exist. I don't go to church and I sell all my Bibles. What? That does not make it. I mean, that does not make any sense to me. But yeah, we need to wrap this up. We're going on 2 hours. This thing is the longest podcast.
Yeah.
We still have more to talk about, and that's why we held this topic up. And
because there's still quite a few more questions that we haven't even got to. Plus, we haven't even begun to start talking about the underground bases with the so-called alien beings that are working with our government. So, I mean, there's
the questions that I wrote down just to ask you off rip.
Yeah,
we got 4 out of the 17 questions that are. And when I say questions, I wrote down questions that would develop like we'll ask a question and we'll start talking about it, become a topping point instead of. I kind of figure like I got all this information here, and before I had it organized based off like, oh, here's this fact kind of thing. But then I'm like, that's too much. So I just kind of once I start talking about it, I remember all my stuff that I've been researching. But yeah, I got 17, so I got 13 more stuff we got to cover.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, we can wrap this one up and get to the next points on the next episode. So
yeah, and if you like this topic, guys, or y'all have another topic you want us to look at, or even if you have any questions, your questions, I would love if somebody commented and asked us a question that about this anything,
yeah,
anything at all. Even what's my favorite place to eat? Ask me that. Because if you just any type of interaction helps our YouTube page grow. And
yeah.
again, we don't ask for any subscriptions or anything. We do this just because we like it. We like talking about it. I think we're living in a time right now where this stuff is not so fringe or like
taboo anymore.
Yeah, it's not so taboo. And again, that's what we do. We ask questions and try to figure out what's going on in the world.
Yeah. And we go out in the field and look for these things as well.
So are you gonna meet me up at Montgomeryville?
When?
Sunday.
I might be able to, because we're going to go to Chattanooga to see my aunt, but I should be back in time.
So what I was planning on doing, we'll talk about it after we get done. But thanks for listening, y'all. Please the spiel, like, comment, subscribe, kind of thing. Help us grow our channel. Help us interact with us. If y'all want us to research a topic that we haven't talked about, or even
we want to hear from you guys.
It's out of our wheelhouse. Shoot us a text. We'll do our best. So,
and we're on Instagram now. We have an Instagram page, a YouTube page, working on a Facebook page. So reach out to us.
We are learning production.
Yeah, we're really learning a lot of new stuff and plan on getting a lot more equipment. We're planning on going, just to give a little tidbit before we get out of here, plan on going to the Bigfoot Festival in Townsend. And hopefully we're going to get to interview some folks and have a lot of fun down there. So, and then do some investigations yet again where we explored last time, and do a little bit further investigation in that area. So,
yep,
it'd be pretty cool. So,
well, I hope y'all had fun in the portal.
Yeah,
come join us next time.
All right.
All right.